Hello. You are listening to Dads with Startups, a podcast about a couple of entrepreneurs who put family first.
What's up, Kevin?
Hello. How's it going?
Pretty good. So it's been a while since we recorded. It's been like a month. We haven't been able to get our
Yeah.
schedules to jive.
Yeah, it just has been all over the place recently. Been really busy on my end. We are trying to finish up our remodel and actually get things Airbnb going and all that stuff. And it's like the last 10% is often the hardest. It's almost done, but it's like, no, another 3 days. So that's been taking up actually a lot of my work time, unfortunately, and that's been very frustrating. While simultaneously, there's tons of work that needs to be done, and
I
so
know.
my schedule's
I
been
know
all
your
over the
pain.
place.
Yeah, we put our sod in our yard finally. So we have our landscaping is finished officially.
Great.
Um, and I have been taking so much time off of work for that. I mean, in the summer when it was hot, I was working in the mornings before it got too hot, and then coming to the office at like noon, and then working until 5 because I wanted to get back out there and have a few hours to work before the sun went down. And it's been frustrating, and my team has noticed me not being very present as well, and I think that's kind of trickling down to them, makes them a little
Gotcha.
bit less excited about work, when their boss is
Yeah.
pretty much absent. So it's finally over.
Good. I'm glad to hear. Yeah, it's funny because I'm feeling there's almost it's just a weird feeling when you're so divided between completely different things. In some ways, it's nice to get a break from one or the other. But my wife said to me last night, "Hey, why don't we clean the house between Airbnb people? That'll be fun. As the guests leave, we'll just one of us will go down and clean." And I was like, honestly, I just cannot add another of these dumb. Probably like, let's just find somebody. I need to focus on the business. It's like, okay, we're gonna grow this business, except let's do all these other things first in the periphery, and then like
Yeah.
we'll spend a few hours a week, and it's just like, no, this isn't working. You don't grow a business with this much distraction all over the place. I mean, yeah, maybe Elon Musk can do it, but most of us humans can't, I think.
Yeah, it's hard to divide your attention that way. And when you're not working, if you have one thing, then when you're not working, you're thinking about the one thing even,
Yeah.
so it's kind of exponential. Um, well, I've been traveling a lot since we last spoke. I feel like I've talked about this, but with Civic Review and our customers being government, we attend conferences. I've historically gone to just a few per year, but this year with the tiny seed funding and everything, earmarked 14 conferences to attend this year, and about 10 or 11 of them landed this fall. So in the last month, I've been to 3. I would say the last 2 months, personally, I've been to 5 of them, and my counterpart has been to, I think, 7 of them. A couple of
Wow.
those we went together to. So since we last spoke, I flew out to California, did a conference there with city planners where we sponsored a table and everything, and then I flew direct over to Missouri, had one in St. Louis, same kind of a organization, city planners, um, and then I flew home. My counterpart, he was in California with me. He flew straight to Idaho, came home for 2 days, flew back to Idaho. In a couple of weeks, I'm flying back to Missouri. So there's just a lot of travel, but
Yeah.
I only have one more. He doesn't have any more. We're this year anyway, until next spring. So
Cool.
it's feeling nice. I was getting really sick of leaving all the time,
Yeah,
traveling so much.
it's kind of nice that you have at least a season almost for it. You were mentioning that this is a pretty particularly busy season, and at least
Yep.
that's only happening once a year versus it being spread out all year.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of nice. Our team, we've started to get a groove back. especially
Yeah.
with the yard being done and the conferences being
Yeah.
done. I'm starting to just come to the office more often. So, yeah, it's
I'm
been
looking
good.
forward to that as well. That's great. Well, cool. Yeah, it reminds me of that movie with George Clooney where he's on the road all the time. He's flying around, I think up in the air or something like that, and he's going to I think he's crashing conferences um, at hotels he's
This
staying
isn't ringing a
at.
bell for me.
Really? Okay, it's an old movie. It's like 2008 era, but I think it's called Up in the Air or something like that. It's one of my favorite movies, and every time I watch it, it makes me remember, like, it shows the glamour of business travel at the beginning, where he's getting the lounge, access to the lounges and all this great stuff, and then it also, middle way through, it shows the loneliness of it and the
Yeah.
intensity of that kind of lifestyle. So it's nice to come back home, especially when your family's there and stuff.
We had one little incident. My 2-year, well, she's 3 now, just turned 3. She likes to run away. Like, she'll just take off and be like, I'm
Wow.
going to grandma's house, and she'll just leave the neighborhood. So we have to always watch out for that.
Oh my gosh.
And while I was in St. Louis, I was at this a museum. It's a blues museum, like International Blues Museum, I think is what it's called.
Nice.
And they had a little stage, and they had kind of an open mic blues night, and people just kind of show up with their instruments, and they get together and play the blues together.
Great.
And so I was enjoying the show, just loving it, because I play guitar. I really love live music. So I texted my wife. I was like, I'm at this concert. It's awesome. People are just playing. And she texted me back. She's like, cool. I lost Paige. My daughter's name is Paige. I lost Paige. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
oh, okay. Well, get some neighbors to help you. She's like, oh yeah, they're already out. We've got 4-wheelers driving around looking for her. I was like, whoa, this is a big deal. I can't enjoy this concert anymore. I tried to well, there's
No.
nothing I can do. So I stepped out. I started calling all of our neighbors also, like, hey, can you help her find everybody? She was just in full panic mode. Fortunately, they found her. Guess where? She was on our bed, just sitting on our
really?
bed
Okay.
with a tablet in her hand.
So that
We
one
think
time
maybe
she
she
decided to
was
stay home.
hiding. Yeah, she was
Oh,
possibly
yeah.
hiding first because she wasn't supposed to have a tablet. And then
Yeah,
later she
yeah.
climbed up on the bed and found her
Damn.
right there. So
I mean, Yeah. that story makes me feel like, there's probably some ethical issues with that, but maybe like one of those Apple trackers would be nice to know. Okay, all right, she's here. She's over there.
maybe we should get one with her, because
Like
this is not
maybe
the
a
first time
necklace.
this has happened.
Yeah, maybe you sell it to her as a beautiful piece of jewelry that, oh my gosh, you get this beautiful. That's wild though. Yeah, that stuff is terrifying. I mean, every time I was walking around my yard the other day, and my 3-year-old, almost 3-year-old, I went upstairs to get something. She was playing with the dog, and our dog doesn't. The nice thing about our dog is he pretty much doesn't go anywhere. We don't even have a fence in our yard. He just wants to be near us. So they're playing, and I just go upstairs to get some. I pour a cup of coffee. I come back down, and I'm like, I should not be up here this long. I should go back down. And of course, I go down, and she's not where she was. And I'm like, circling. I'm calling her name, and it basically was like 4 or 5 minutes of like her on the other side and trying to find me, and we were basically circling around, finding each other. But those moments where you're just like, I was just like, what have I done? I'm the worst father in the world. This is a disaster, and just like all these thoughts, and then you see her, and it's like, oh God. But yeah, that's some anxiety there.
Yeah.
With So how's everything going with the app in general? Like, you've been making some inroads, I think, with the conferences, it sounds like. I mean, that's kind of what I remember last time. Is that still continuing? And are there any other marketing channels that are working, or any changes with that?
Yeah, our sales cycle is about 6 months average. So we won't really know how successful these conferences truly were until about this spring sometime, So we've had some demos so far, and hopefully we'll see a few more over the next couple of months, and then those will develop into customers, hopefully.
Okay. So demos from the folks that you talked to in person
Yeah.
at the conference.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you've seen a jump though because of
We've had a
that.
pretty good jump. Yeah, we've seen a jump in demos. We've had a decent jump in customers, actually. We've had several that
Great.
we've been sort of talking to for a while, that all of a sudden we're like, we're gonna sign
Nice.
up now. And so, yeah, things are going good. How about
It is
you?
interesting with that. Like, I, even though our SaaS seems like it's pretty much just sign up and get started, I am also noticing though that the folks that actually become good customers and are interested in sticking around are the ones that I mean I've seen up to 3 months, even longer with some of the from the initial contact to sign up date, and then they really are dedicated. They're joining and they're staying and they're communicating with us. But that is interesting in general. Like we think of SaaS as being very quick typically, and maybe yours being some sort of outlier. But I would wonder if that's also because a lot of founders just aren't tracking very well, and they don't see with that initial time of introduction to the time of to sign up and paying,
Yeah,
giving the credit card out.
I would imagine. I would bet that there are more SaaS companies that have long sales cycles and high touch points
Yeah.
than we know about, because what we typically use are the easy to sign up ones and what's in the news and the glorified, unicorn ones. But there's so much software out there in the world for every little niche, and those niches often need a high touch sales process. So,
They do, and I think
yeah.
people just want to. It's interesting because I had this weird demo yesterday. It almost made me want to give up on demos. I was like, this is just wasting my time. I had a guy who emailed us over the weekend. He couldn't get his account working. He couldn't get the course integrated onto his site, and so he didn't. We responded like, okay, well, tell us more, and he responds with a very rude. This isn't working for me, and your website looks like crap. And he was criticizing our use of stock images, like, you just using stock images. And I was kind of thrown off by that. And then a few other criticisms. I can't remember them all. There were a whole diatribe of them. And then he had scheduled a demo. Okay, I think I may have lost you, John. I'm not sure who lost who here. Let me put it on pause for a minute. Oh, looks like we lost John.